All right. And we are live. And thank you so much if you're joining here from LinkedIn Live. And welcome to another episode of the Hardcore Soft Skills Podcast Live. I am here in another conversation because this is part two of a conversation I had with Dr. AZM&x, and we are going to talk today more about top skills for tech professionals. And just in case you didn't hear the previous conversation, so he is a leadership coach, soft skills coach, and author of multiple books, including one that came out a while back in terms of soft skills. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Yadi, for inviting me. And we had a wonderful conversation last time. This is the second round, and it's gonna be great. And I'm happy to be here.
Yes, and in the first part of the conversation, I had the opportunity to talk a little bit about my background and the kind of the interest on soft skills. Now we want to learn more about you. So, what from conversations that we've had before, and even before we were recording this show, how did you got it specifically into the area of soft skills? Because you were more from a technical background, is that correct?
Yeah, to give a little bit background about myself, I'm originally from Ethiopia. I came to the United States 2005. I used to be working as a researcher in Ethiopia before I came here, working for an international research organization. And then I came to the US 2005 to pursue my master's in computer science. I was working for a multinational corporation which produces semiconductors. I was a software engineer. And then I said, you know what? My passion is empowering people. I want to help people to become leaders and pursue their passion and purpose in life. And I did my doctoral degree in strategic leadership, coming to help technical professionals in science, research, technology to develop softer skills, leadership skills. That's how I came from technical background. I'm here helping mainly technical professionals to develop the most important softer skills for them to be successful as professionals and also leaders.
Yeah, and one thing, and that's fascinating, kind of making that transition. And one thing that we talked about before was in terms of like you would call them like soft skills, but they're not really that soft, because it's tough to practice. They're tough to implement. And from making, as you were making that transition, what made you realize like that these were either called soft skills or what's included in that, and that they were important because it's not very evident for people, particularly with either event managers or many people, to realize that these are skills that we need to practice. Was there moments or specific experiences that you've had that made you realize, like, this is important to have these skills?
I've had so many aha moments. It didn't happen just like one shot because myself, I had blind spots. I was a technical professional. I didn't see the importance of communication, emotional intelligence, my ability to work with other people, get along, negotiate. I didn't know all of that. I was winging it. And at one point, I could realize that I'm not getting what I wanted. And it led me to figure out that maybe I'm lacking something which is not in my profession. That's when I start to go back and look at what was going on. For example, when I was a researcher, I could see that there are off chart researchers, and they're not really the decision makers. They bring the money, they structure the research, they have the models, they do everything, but somebody is the main author and presenter of their results because they didn't have the softer skills. They were not leading departments, they were not leading projects and portfolios. Even if they are the ones bringing the money, the ones who do the hard work, they have the technical skills, the know how, but they didn't have the softer skills. I also start to research to see the importance of these softer skills. I could be able to see, okay, we have Steve Jobs here and Steve Wozniak here.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, the two Steves. Hmm.
You could clearly see Steve Wozniak, he had off-chart technical ability, but he didn't have the softer skills, the marketing, the branding, the communication. But Steve Jobs, he had a little bit tech background, but every time he was given assignment, technical assignment, he used to pay Steve Wozniak.
Yeah,
He had some ideas at least to take those assignments, but he used to hire Steve Wozniak to do the
yeah,
technical stuff. But when they came together, we know where Apple is. Those research, those observations finally led me to realize that more than my technical skills, soft skills are very important. What's very hard for me is to help other people see that. Some
yeah.
people think, oh, these soft skills, they are luxury. I don't need soft skills. I just need to be good at in my accounting. I want to be good at my technical skills, and people undermine them. But I'm glad that I didn't. I took them seriously.
Yeah, and that's important that you mentioned that because as you were mentioning earlier that you're from Ethiopia and and myself from Puerto Rico, and in the sense of the just the cultural differences and just realizing that perhaps it could vary by culture the importance that we place on soft skills, but perhaps not, because even working in the States for a while as we have been, we also see that there are some people that may see it maybe per industry differs. But how do you think? Uh, do you think it varies by either culture or by industry that we don't realize that it's important to take like deliberate effort to practice these skills?
From my observation, I could be wrong, but from my own observation, what I have seen is that in some cultures, the focus is on technical skill.
Yeah.
In some cultures, you see that yes, they have technology, they have technical abilities and capabilities, technologies, but they overlay that with management principles. They add into that soft skills, leadership. That's why we see some cultures are enjoying success, partly because they take non-technical skills very seriously. They want to make sure that there is productivity. They want to make sure that people are performing. They want to make sure that they create system and so on. Not the technical aspect of it, but managing those infrastructures, the systems and so on, using those softer skills that are going to help them produce, over deliver, and be successful. In some cultures, I can give you an example. For example, if I set up a workshop on accounting or how to use a software from my community, I get a lot of people signing up for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
If I set up a webinar or a workshop saying that we're going to talk about emotional intelligence, some people would tell me, this is fluffy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They may not attend. There are people who may attend, but in some culture, they see the power. Think about America, for example. If somebody is promoted, let's say they were software engineer, they were great in terms of their technical abilities. The moment they are promoted, they will be assigned to a coach. They
Mm.
join a soft skill, a leadership skill program. I
Yeah.
provide earlier, I had a webinar. There's a cohort program, and these are for managers. They don't wing it. They know that, okay, this person knows in terms of the technical know-how and technical skills, but they're not leaders yet. They don't know yet to communicate, get along with other people, and manage and lead their teams. Therefore, they invest on them. They want them to develop these softer skills. But in some cultures, the investment is not there. Not just the investment, even acknowledging this is important for our development. This is important for my career, for my business. Some people say, communication. These are
Mm-hmm.
a bit soft. I don't need that. But you see, when you see them, yeah, they're great in terms of technical skills, and you see them that they have the know-how and they're great. But when it comes to succeeding, dealing with people, clients, and so on, they don't. One of the reasons a lot of businesses are opened is because a lot of technical people, they say, well, I don't need a boss because I'm good at in these technical skills. And they leave their jobs, well-paying jobs,
Yeah.
and they open businesses. And then 9 out of 10 fail. Why do you think they fail?
Yeah.
Technically, they were successful in there because they had a leader who had soft skills, leadership skills. They were successful. But when they leave that ecosystem, now they are the leader. In that case, even if they have the technical abilities, they did it in the past, now they struggle. Why do they struggle? The softer skills, the ability to sell, to communicate, to
Yeah.
build a team, to manage emotions, to negotiate, resolve conflicts, and so on. These are softer skills, intangible people skills.
Yeah, you make a great point there about it's not just like necessarily like managers who need to take them, and when you become like you assume a new role, it's important for anyone, particularly if you say, you know what, I'm just want to do my own thing, and in order to be successful, you still need to deal with people. So therefore, you need to have the people skills for that. So, great point. And now that we're talking about skills, now let's get it more into depth into so we can get a little bit more understanding of the of tactics or tools to improve in specific skills. But first, let's talk about what are the top three skills that you think are super important right now, and then let's delve into how can we make like little improvements on each one of those.
When I wrote the book, Softer Skills That Make or Break Your Success, I identified through research and talking to a lot of people, experts in the area, we came up with 12 softer skills. And I divided them into three parts. The first part, softer skills to lead yourself.
Mm,
Then the next part, softer skills to get along with others.
okay.
And the last part, softer skills to lead others. And I'm going
Mm,
to pick one softer skill from the first part, another
wonderful.
soft skill from the second part, and another one from the third part. And I can start with softer skills to lead yourself, and you can interject, you can share
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
stories, you can also ask me questions.
Hmm.
Among the four softer skills that I found out are very important for someone to lead themselves, because when you think about leadership, you cannot lead others if you don't know how to lead yourself. You
Yeah.
cannot get along with others if you don't know how to get along with yourself. That's
Hmm.
why I came up with those softer skills to lead myself.
Yeah.
Great leaders are those who first lead themselves. And therefore, I'm going to pick emotional intelligence, the
Mm,
ability of someone. It could be a person who is a professional or a leader or entrepreneur to manage their emotions.
yeah.
And the first thing that I learned was that the brain has different parts that manage thought, that manage emotions. That revelation was powerful for me to develop my emotional intelligence, because when emotion comes to us, it may come through touch, hearing, or maybe seeing, smelling, and so on. These sensory data, they come to your spinal cord at the back of your brain, and when they get to the amygdala, which is the middle brain, some people say this is the reptile brain, but I call it the emotional brain. When these sensory information get to the amygdala, the midbrain, the emotional brain, emotions are triggered.
Hmm.
Then the data goes to our neocortex,
Hmm.
which is the executive brain. And now you start to think about the emotions that you experienced.
Yeah.
When you have high emotional intelligence, what happens is that the two parts of your brain communicate very well, which means you have well established neural pathways between the amygdala, the emotional brain, and the forebrain. And you can easily manage your emotions. That knowledge was transformational for me,
Mm,
because, first of all, I cannot control my emotional brain, which is far away. It functions subconsciously, but I could control what I think, which
mm,
is in the neocortex.
yeah.
And if I want to manage my emotions, I have to know what kind of thoughts I should have
Yeah.
to change that emotion, because I cannot deal with that emotion at that deeper level. Let me give you an example. Let's say that two people, they were watching TV and there is a news, and the news, for example, is about an economic meltdown. Both of them are hearing this news. And the first thing that happens is that the sensor information that's coming from their ears
Hmm.
and from their eyes going to the spinal cord at the back. And when it hits
Yeah.
their amygdala or the emotional brain, what happens? First thing is kind of like panic.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna lose my job, or my business
Mm-hmm.
will go down, I will be in trouble, my family. That's a kind of panic fear that may surface. Here is a trick. Let's say one of them have high emotional intelligence. They felt the fear. They cannot avoid that.
Of
We're
course.
humans. We are emotional beings. That person felt that,
Mm-hmm.
and then they use different thoughts to contextualize what's happening. They could even say and tell themselves, look, we are in economic meltdown. It's going to affect me, my
Yeah.
family, my community. But what can I do to leverage this?
Yeah.
Not only survive, outlast this, how can I become better in the aftermath of that economic crisis?
Mm-hmm.
Now you see the emotions start to change. Rather than being desperate,
Yeah.
this person start to feel hope and overcome fear. The other person, let's say this person doesn't have any emotional intelligence, or very dwarf kind of emotional intelligence. This person
Mm-hmm.
may not get out of the middle brain, the emotional brain. Even if the information get to the neocortex, the
Yeah.
thought could be led by the emotion
Yeah.
and filled with fear, further
Yeah.
fear.
Of
Oh
course.
my God, even imagining what bad things could happen.
Mm-hmm.
That may not happen. What do you think gonna happen? Because the two parts of the brain communicate, you
Yeah.
are reinforcing the emotion of fear with
Yeah.
more thoughts of fear. This person gonna be worked out, stressed out. They cannot be creative, innovative, because they don't have the space. They are dealing with a subconscious emotional control, which is on the driver's seat. But
Yeah.
somebody who has better emotional intelligence, even if they were afraid, even if they
Mm-hmm.
panicked, they know how to manage, because
Yeah.
they have a lot of neural pathways between the two parts of the brain. They could be able to turn around that emotion, even use it to fuel them, energize them. That's what
Yeah.
we have seen during COVID, by the way. Some people
Mm-hmm.
panic, they drop the ball. Some
Absolutely.
companies, some leaders, they start to say, you know what? Let me innovate and create some products and services that's going to help a lot of people. Some people became millionaires.
Yeah. Yeah.
People added value and became better in the midst of that scary,
Mm-hmm.
difficult moment, while some dropped the ball, even lost businesses and so on. I empathize that. That was a very bad time for
Yes.
all of us.
Yeah.
But some
Absolutely.
people, they didn't allow the emotion to govern them. They got some space. They knew how to
Yeah.
manage emotions.
Yeah, and you mentioned something very important there about the naming, the either naming the emotion, naming the situation, recognizing, as you say, and then going into the kind of choosing the reaction. And of course, it takes a lot of practice because we're not robots, but it's but definitely something a very important skill to continue developing. So, you good example there. Now,
Let me give you
mhm,
one tool that I use on a daily basis, which may help people. I have this tool called, which I also share with my coaches and my workshop participants, of emotional intelligence. I have emotional intelligence certification, and I provide trainings and
yeah,
coaching on emotional intelligence. The tool is called PFAT. We share that to our audience.
okay,
PFAT means every day I stop maybe a couple of times and check myself. And I say just PFAT. It could be just by myself, nobody hears me around me. PFAT
mm-hmm.
means what my physical body is telling me. P for physical. What's
Okay,
my physical body is telling me? Am I feeling hungry? Am I tired? What am I experiencing? Physical? Am I kind of like uh, tight,
mm-hmm.
relaxed?
Yeah,
And then the F is for the feeling. What am I feeling? Am I feeling fear, excitement? I want to know that. And then the the A is PFA. The A is how am I appearing to other people? Sometimes you may not know how you appear to people. You may think you are excited. Maybe you're not excited to other people who are looking at you. I want to make sure that how I appear to other people. And T is where is my thinking?
okay,
I do that on a daily basis, multiple times. And sometimes I catch myself, for example, stressed out. The
Yeah.
first thing I say, what is my physical body is telling me? I could see some kind of tightness, and then what am I feeling? And I
Yeah.
see that I'm kind of like suppressed and depressed, and then I see that I'm being frowned or just
Mm-hmm.
tight, so on. And then I start to evaluate my thoughts. Maybe I'm thinking something that's stressing me out. It could be from the news I
Yeah.
heard or conversation I had earlier. But since I catch it and since I use PFAT, what I do is, like I said, I change my thoughts because that's where the control I have. I don't have direct control with my body, my emotions, and the way I look. But the moment I change my thoughts, where I have control, I start to see change in my body. I start to
That's
see
wonderful.
change. If people practice that on a daily basis, what happens is that, yeah, you're going to feel tired, you're going to feel irritated, angry, frustrated, depressed, whatever, but at least you are
Mhm.
self-aware and you have a chance to turn them around if you know how to use your thoughts to
Yeah,
change your thoughts
totally.
and to
That's
change
what.
your emotions.
So PFAD physical, and it was the F for feelings, and A for what was it again for
How do I appear? A,
appearing,
appear. How
and
do I
then
appear to other people?
T for
And
thinking.
T,
Okay,
yeah, what am I thinking right now? And then I
wonderful.
change that thinking and everything may change.
That's awesome. That's a great tool. I need to start integrating it right now and kind of remember that acronym. That's wonderful. Now let's go into the other parts. So we've talked about leading yourself, emotional intelligence, and you gave us that tool. Let's go into the part of leading others. Was it that what would you
Second
suggest?
one is getting softer skills to get along with other
To
people. And
get along with others, not leading it.
I'm gonna
Yes.
choose communication. I believe that communication makes or break in our ability to get along with other people. Sometimes you may have good intentions, you may have great things, you may have great products, services, but if you don't know how to communicate those, you may not be able to get support. I love what Les Brown, one of my favorite motivational speakers, said. He said that communication is the number one tool to succeed in any endeavor. If you are great and effective in your communication, people write you a check, vote
Mm-hmm.
for you, support you, buy your product and services, and join your cause. The key thing in communication is sometimes when you think you're communicated, maybe you're not communicated enough. There is a quotation, I don't remember who, is the fallacy of communication is the thinking that we are communicating
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
we think communicating, maybe we are under communicating. This is very important first. The second thing is that communication is not a one-way street. As much as you have to communicate, you have to listen. And therefore, for you to be an effective communicator, you should have the ability to listen. And if you remember, we talked about one of the softer skills, very important, which is listening ability. When it comes to communication, I work on a daily basis. If you remember last time, before we started the session, I mentioned about how I work on my communication on a daily basis,
Yeah.
both the writing communication and also communication using my voice, communication using my nonverbals, communicating using my emotions. It's kind of like a daily routine. At this point, I coach and mentor other people and provide training on how to present in front of the camera, in front of an audience. Last week, I had a 2 day presentation skills webinar with managers. I'm at that level, but I still work on my
Of
communication.
course.
And one of the ways I improve my communication, refine them, is to use every opportunity. Before I came for this conversation in this podcast, I was thinking, okay, what are the areas where I'm working right now to improve and get better? And I want to use this opportunity to improve those. If people use every opportunity, I remember I had difficulty to make eye contact because culturally, back home in Ethiopia, we don't make eye contact,
Mm.
especially with somebody elder than you, or somebody who's a boss, or your leader, or somebody opposite sex. You don't make eye contact the way you do in the United States. It was
Yeah.
hard for me. And my mentor was telling me, hey, go out there and practice.
Yeah.
And I go out for lunch, I go out for coffee. People don't know what I was doing. I was sitting there eating or drinking, and I'm making eye contact with this friend. I make that
Ah,
eye contact with that friend. I was practicing. They didn't know. I
yeah.
was standing in front of a mirror
Yeah.
and practicing as if I am speaking to an audience. I remember
Mm,
sitting in my room practicing as if I'm responding to journalists. I,
that's
I,
really good.
I
Hmm.
practice pitching an idea, pitching to raise capital, even if I was doing virtually,
Yeah.
nobody's there. And
Yeah.
people can use every opportunity. They can go also Toastmasters or find other platforms to practice. It's about the game of practice.
Absolutely. I like that you putting yourself, so putting ourselves in situations like we're trying to do here, like having conversations, practicing our listening, or practicing with the presentation part. I'm going to do that more in the mirror, kind of like talking to in a press conference. I like that to kind of, because at times we think we have mannerisms or things that we're not doing properly. So I like that of like deliberate practice to be able to get it to communicate with one another effectively.
And
So
also, I record and watch myself. Sometimes you
yes.
will be surprised.
Mm.
And sometimes I record myself, send to somebody else, and they give me feedback.
Yeah, no, that's great. And sometimes it's something we need to learn and we want to hear. Even as coaches and trainers, we're constantly we know, understand the need to practice. That's great. So the last skill, because we've talked about leading yourself or getting along with yourself, getting along with others, and how about the part of leading others? What's the top skill there that you think we need to practice?
I will pick negotiation. And one thing I learned at the early stage of my work on my softer skills was a lot of people think that we're not negotiators. We think that negotiation is for Democrats and Republicans, and
Mm-hmm.
negotiation between them, or Israelites and Palestinians negotiating, or you don't need to worry about negotiation unless you are a lawyer or unless you are a leader of a union. But I realized that on a daily basis, we negotiate. We negotiate who gonna take out the trash, who gonna take the
All the
kids
time.
to school, where do we go for lunch. We negotiate on a daily basis, but we don't believe we're negotiators. That's gonna rob us a lot of stuff on the negotiation table. People come to me and tell me, AZ, I should have got that promotion. I should have got that project. I should have got that project or that whatever they're looking for. And when I ask them, what have you done to get it? No answer,
Mm-hmm.
because they think that they're going to get whatever they want. They think that other people already think that they deserve it. No, this is negotiation, the game of negotiation. You're going to go out and negotiate for the raise. You negotiate for promotion. You negotiate for the project. You negotiate for that contract.
Yeah. No, that's great. And one thing that I've learned with negotiations is always kind of preparing yourself, preparing for what you want, but also preparing for what the other, like either what the other may think. As you propose the thing, you kind of put yourself in the shoes of the other person to kind of help understand. So you come out prepared for the negotiation and you know, get ready to anticipate any negative feedback or basically the preparation in negotiation is so important, so that's a great skill.
Yeah, there is a powerful saying. I think somebody said it, but I don't remember. The negotiation before negotiation is powerful. Let's say you have a
Yeah.
negotiation of a lot of partners coming together to negotiate. Can you see the power of negotiating before the negotiation with the participants,
Yeah.
lobbying people, creating
Yeah.
alliances? When the actual negotiation comes, you could be able to succeed. Of course, negotiation is a skill, it's a softer skill. This is something you want to practice. And I remember practicing for everything. I was negotiating on purpose, even if that thing is very small.
Yeah.
Now I negotiate on purpose. If I'm
Mhm.
going out to meet someone, I believe this is negotiation for me. It may not be like official negotiation, formal negotiation, but when you go out to partner with others, to work with others, it's a really negotiation. And the key thing is what you said. What can I give it to them so that they feel it's a win-win. And I tell people, look, when you are working with family members, loved ones, that's fine. You may give them whatever they want, let them get away with whatever they want. When you are negotiating, representing your team, your business, and your company, you cannot do that. When you go out, you're negotiating to get something for your company, for your team. And the best way to do is not to go out there, you win, they lose. No. Or they win, you lose. That doesn't work. It may work with families. They win, you lose, fine. They are loved ones, family. But you are representing your team, your organization. You want to win. They are expecting you to win. The key thing is you go out there, you make it win-win. Of course, if we have time, we'll talk more maybe another time, but it looks like our 30 minutes is gone.
Yeah, yeah, and this was so packed with great information and great to. What's the name of your book where you talk about all these specific focus areas?
Soft skills that make or break your success. It's available on Amazon. People could find that. Also, they can go to my website, which is www.theA2Zinstitute.com. They could also reach out to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. I am on social media. They can reach out to me and I can share with them some resources. I can also give them audits. I have some audits for people to could take those audits for free, especially if they are coming through you and your podcast. I may be able to help them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'll put all those notes on the show notes as well. Want to thank you again, AC, for being here with me on the podcast and sharing all your expertise. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you, Eddie, for the invitation and the time that we spent together. Thank you.